அன்புடன் நமது கிராமங்களிலிருந்து ஆரோக்கியா பால்.
Hi and welcome to episode 7 of Ramayana with Anuja. The previous episode was a very sad one because Rama and Sita had been separated and Rama had been given instructions by Khabandha to find King Sugriva of the Vanaras to help him. And he was also told that Sugriva was in hiding at Mount Rishyamukha. A little something about the Vanaras. A lot of people think they were monkeys. That's not quite true. They were jungle dwellers with simian-like attributes, and they were believed to be partially descended from the Devas. Okay, and they were also proficient in the use of magic, so they could do things which the mortals, the humans of that particular age, couldn't do. And now King Sugriva, he was in hiding, as I had mentioned, and he spotted Rama and Lakshmana approaching him, and he had a group of ministers and Hanuman with him. Now he got a little paranoid and really panicky. Now there had been repeated attempts on his life by his brother Vaali. The two of them had fallen out hard, and Vaali had kept making the attempt to kill Sugriva. And he had come to Rishyamukha for a certain reason. There was a sage's ashram there. The sage was named Matanga, and some time back Vaali had a very exciting encounter with a demon named Dundubi. Blessed with a boon from Brahma, he was very powerful and he had challenged Vaali to a duel. Now Vaali had defeated this demon and he had lifted up his carcass, twirled it round his head and then hurled it away, and it landed far away, and the blood from this carcass had desecrated Matanga's ashram, and the carcass had also crushed his beloved trees and plants. So the sage was very angry and he said if Vaali ever sets foot here, he'll die. So it was a safe place for Sugriva to hide out basically, and he was there. So he looked at Rama, Lakshmana and he told Hanuman, I think Vaali has sent someone to kill me. Hanuman tried to reassure him, but Sugriva was too panicky. He said, just go find out their intentions, disguise yourself, go find out their intentions. And Hanuman took the form of a very humble sage and he set out to meet the princes from Ayodhya. Even from a distance, he knew that they meant no harm, and that these two princes, especially the dark one who was Rama, was very special. And without even meeting him, talking to him, he knew then that he would love Rama forever. And he approached these two brothers, he asked them to introduce themselves, and Rama and Lakshmana were very forthright. They told everything they had to say about themselves, about the circumstances which led them there. And Hanuman also was very happy to meet them. He said that it was a very fortunate encounter because Rama as well as Sugriva were in a position to help each other. And then he told these two princes the story of Sugriva, which I shall share with you. This is a very tragic tale because Vaali and Sugriva were very special, and the brothers had initially been very close. Their births were very unconventional, and it is said that there was this charioteer of the sun. His name is Aruni. He is the brother of Garuda, and Aruni himself has a very interesting story because at the time of his birth he was still gestating inside an egg, and his mother had grown very impatient. This was Vinata. She became very impatient and she broke the egg, hoping to see her son quickly. And so the lower half of Aruni hadn't been formed. It was indeterminate, and he was very angry and he'd cursed his mother, and he had gone on to work for the sun, Surya, as his charioteer. Now Aruni, one day there was a very virtuous woman called Sheelavati, and because of a curse she had pronounced preventing the sun from making his usual journey across the heavens, Aruni found that for the first time in forever he had a holiday, and Aruni decided to go to Indra's Sabha and see the famous dancers over there. But he was barred from entering, and they said, sorry, men cannot enter. So Aruni disguised himself as a woman and he entered the Sabha, and Indra noticed him, and he fell deeply in love with Aruni in his feminine form, and the child born of this union was Vaali. Now meanwhile, when Aruni returned to Surya, Surya said, what the hell were you thinking? We can't take holidays, you know, we have a job to do. And Aruni told him everything that had happened, and Surya immediately, he became curious. He wanted to see the feminine form of Aruni, and when it was shown to him, Surya also desired Aruni, and the child born of this union was Sugriva. So Vaali and Sugriva are believed to be the sons of Indra and Surya. Now shortly after that, they were educated by sage Gautama, and later they were adopted by King Riksharajas of the Vanaras. And Vaali, as the elder brother, was the ruler of Kishkindha after his father, and Vaali was very, very powerful. He was given a boon of power by Brahma, so he was virtually invincible. Anytime anyone challenged him to a combat, during the course of the fight, half of his opponent's strength will come to Vaali. So he was practically unbeatable, and you know, things were proceeding very smoothly. The brothers were getting along, and then one day something happened. There was a fateful encounter. A demon named Mayavi, he was the brother of Dundubi who had been defeated by Vaali. He came and challenged Vaali to a duel. And Vaali never backed off from a fight, so he said, bring it. And the two of them, you know, he chased Mayavi some distance away, and there was a fight inside a cave. And before he went into the cave, Vaali told Sugriva, listen, you just wait outside, don't get involved. And Vaali went in. It was a long fight, it went on for a long time. Sugriva was waiting very anxiously, and suddenly he saw a splash of blood at the entrance to the cave, and he thought he heard the dying cries of Vaali. Now his motivations are suspect here, whether his intentions were pure or otherwise, but he rolled a boulder over the entrance to the cave, and he ran away from there, and he started ruling over Kishkindha. But sometime later, a bloodied and bruised Vaali returned, and understandably he was furious. He felt Sugriva had betrayed him, and he chased him away from Kishkindha. And you know, to add insult to injury, he also captured his wife Ruma. So when Rama heard all this, when he heard that Ruma had also been taken by Vaali, he sympathized immediately with Sugriva, and he said, Hanuman, take me to him, I will definitely help him. So this is how Sugriva came to meet Rama and Lakshmana. The bond was instantaneous, and they swore friendship to each other, and you know, they assured themselves that they will always be there for each other.
As a mark of his goodwill, Sugriva asked his Vanaras to bring the jewels which had been tied up in a piece of cloth and tossed down by a mysterious lady. One look at the jewels and Rama knew at once that they belonged to Sita, and he was overcome with emotion, but Sugriva promised to help reunite him with his wife.
Now Sugriva was eager to challenge his brother again, but he was still a little insecure because he knew exactly how powerful Vaali was. So before making any move, he wanted to test Rama's strength. He kept on and on telling him about the prowess of Vaali, and Lakshmana was amused. He said, why don't you show us this carcass of Dundubi? And you know, when Rama was shown this, very casually he just, you know, kicked it with his toe, and it went flying for a distance of 10 yojanas. But Sugriva was impressed but still not convinced. He said when Vaali picked up this carcass, you know, it was full of meat and bones and gristle. This is just the carcass which has been stripped clean. And so again, to convince him, Rama took an arrow, fixed it to his bow, and he put an arrow through 7 trees. And this time Sugriva was completely convinced. He said, yes, I know you're powerful enough to take on my brother and win. So it was decided. Sugriva went ahead, and he called out to Vaali, challenging him to battle. And Vaali emerged as usual, deciding to teach his brother a lesson, and the two of them started fighting. And to Sugriva's horror, he was getting pummeled to within an inch of his life, but there was no sign of any intervention from Rama. And he was grievously wounded, and he was freaking out big time. So he ran away from the fight before Vaali killed him, and he was weeping. He climbed up a tree and he started howling in misery. And Rama went behind him to comfort him. And he said, see, the problem is you brothers look identical, you dress the same, you share the same features, and there's not much, even physical characteristics, there's nothing to tell you apart from, to tell one apart from the other. So I'll tell you what, Lakshmana here, he'll make a garland right now. you put on that garland, just take some time to rest and recover from your injuries, and then you go challenge Vaali again, and this time I will intervene. And Sugriva was like heartened again. Just Rama's presence was a comfort to him, so he agreed and he went and issued a challenge again. This time Vaali said, I'm going to make sure he never comes back. But Vaali's wife, her name was Tara, a beautiful wise woman, she knew that something did not feel right. She said, listen, I don't think Sugriva would challenge you so quickly if he didn't have another move up his sleeve. And then she told him what she'd heard from her son Angada, a very smart young prince. She told him Angada's spies had reported that Rama and Lakshmana were in the vicinity, and they'd done their research and they found out about Rama's many feats of valor. So Tara said, I bet he's formed an alliance with Rama. She was very, very clever. Vaali should have listened to her. She said, I beg you, please do not go out there. I'm sure there's a grave risk to your life. But Vaali said, no, even I've heard about this Rama fellow. He's a follower of Dharma. Why would he interfere in a fight between brothers? And if he wants my help, I will help him. I was told that he's looking for his wife who was kidnapped by Ravana. I will help him, big deal. I don't think he'll interfere. And with those words, poor Vaali, he went towards his death. And this time, when the two of them clashed, Rama was ready. He placed a fatal arrow and it found its mark and it felled Vaali. And Vaali, more than anything, it was utter shock. He couldn't believe he'd been killed like this. And he lay there mourning, and Rama went to him. And Vaali immediately said, how could you do this to me? How could you just support my brother like that without hearing my side of the story? Why did you kill me like this? I've done nothing to you. You're a follower of Dharma. Does this feel right to you? To interfere like this without warning, without giving me a chance to defend myself from you. And now see, I think we can all agree that Rama's actions don't sit right with any of us. But Valmiki probably felt the same way, which is why Rama gives an explanation. He says, you're a jungle dweller and Kshatriyas are allowed to lay traps to hunt and kill animals. That's what I did. So there will be no blame attached to me. Probably Valmiki felt this explanation isn't going to fly overall. So he also adds that Vaali at that moment, more than the words themselves, it was the essence of what was being conveyed. He caught a glimpse of the mysterious workings of fate, and he saw how his life had ended at the feet of an avatar of Vishnu. And he was highly gratified, and he was also at peace. He lived a very good life, and he didn't want his life to end on a note of anger and hurt and hatred. So he was at peace. He said, even if I take many more lifetimes, I hope I meet my end at your hand. Okay, he says this. And again, if you want to find some other explanation for why Rama did something this cruel, perhaps it's because destiny decreed that it be Sugriva who made the trip with him to Lanka and fought by his side. And besides, if you remember, Rama belongs to the solar race of kings, okay, the Surya Vamsa. And Sugriva is a son of Surya, okay, whereas Vaali was the son of Indra, which is why, you know, these things work out like that. And if you take the Mahabharata, there the son of Indra did very well for himself, that was Arjuna, whereas Karna, he was the son of Surya, whereas the Pandavas and the Kauravas, they belong to the lunar race, the Chandra Vamsa. So maybe that's why these things work out like this. I don't know. This is a slightly uncomfortable part of the Ramayana. Hard to make sense of it. It is what it is, and the point is Vaali made his peace with what happened to him. He turned to Sugriva also. He wanted to set things right with his brother. He said, Sugriva, I'm so sorry things have ended like this between us. We used to be so close. I miss that. So before I die, I want to set things right with you. Everything's forgiven. Rule well. You will be a very good king, and I will give you something. And he removed a necklace which had been given to him by Indra. It endowed the wearer with great strength, and it was a necklace of great potency. Very generously, instead of giving it to his son, he gave it to his brother Sugriva. He said, I know you'll be a good ruler, I know you'll do me proud, please wear this. And he put it on, and Sugriva was heartbroken. He apologized again and again to his brother, he cried, and Vaali consoled him. He said, it's okay, what's done is done. Please take good care of Tara, my wife. She's very wise. Listen to her advice. And then he said, Angada also, he's very talented, he's very smart. Please look after him. I place him in your care. And just to make sure things go well, he turned to Rama. He said, please, you make sure that Angada is cared for. That's all I ask of you. And then again, Vaali did not want to prolong things. He pulled out the arrow, and with a final gush of blood, he just ended his life right there. And of course, there was mourning for a while, and Tara was heartbroken. But Rama took care of things. He consoled everyone, and he arranged for the coronation of Sugriva. He asked Hanuman and the ministers to take care of it. And true to his word, Angada was made the Yuvaraja. And once this was done, Rama turned and he told Sugriva and Hanuman, all of them. He said, listen, because of my father's boon to Kaikeyi, I cannot enter any city or town or village. I have to be only in the forest. So Lakshmana and I will go to the caves. We'll wait out the rainy season there. That will be about 4 months. And then when Kartika comes, it will be time for us to move. Please keep your promise to me. You have to help me reunite with my wife. And Sugriva made this promise, and he returned to his kingdom. Rama and Lakshmana returned to the caves. So on this note, with the episode of Vaali and Sugriva, I will conclude this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure you want to share your thoughts with me in the comment section. Please do so. I will listen to everything you guys have to say, and I will respond as well. Look forward to hearing your thoughts. I will see you in the next episode, and you know what you have to do. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much.
நலம் அன்புடன் நமது கிராமங்களிலிருந்து ஆரோக்கியா பால்